right now, a special guest is joining us, along with Matt Morgan, defense attorney, joining us out of Orlando. The golden ticket, the key to the defense, an attempt to raise reasonable doubt in the minds of the jury, a convicted felon with a serious and violent crime on his history, kidnapping, 8 years hard time, Vasco Thompson. That felon, the defense suggests, by putting him on the witness list, by letting it slip out that he has made many contacts with Father George Anthony, that somehow he and George Anthony, Father George Anthony, the ex-cop who raised Caylee as his own child, had cooked up some scheme to what? Hide her body? To hire some guy, some convicted felon to do his dirty work for him? Is that where they were headed? Well, today, Mr. Thompson is with us live. And he doesn't know anything, not only about some scheme to hide Caylee's body, but about George Anthony at all. Has this guy been unwittingly dragged into Tot Mom's vortex just like Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez? Okay, to Vasco Thompson. I know you've got your lawyer with you, Matt Morgan. Great reputation he's got to speak for you. But, Mr. Thompson, I want to ask you, without your lawyer butting in and trying to talk for you, which is his job, I get it.
Yes.
What do you know about Father George Anthony?
Well, how you doing first, Nancy? Glad to have you on. I
Thank
want
you.
to thank my Lord and Jesus Christ, my Savior in my life, for giving me a chance to talk to you to try to straighten this matter up. So I know anything about George Anthony. I never heard from him. I never talked to him. And I just seen him on TV. And they dragging me in this. For some reason, I don't know.
You know, Mr. Thompson, I know all about your arrest record, about your conviction record, but what you're telling me has the ring of truth. How did you get dragged into this? What happened?
Nancy, I've been trying to find out that same question. How did I get put in this mess, man? So that's why I try to get Matt and his father or somebody to try to help me to find out why they even disrupting my life. Because it's just been totally crazy, man, for the last 2 or 3 weeks.
What, people think you had something to do with hiding Caylee's body, or worse?
I think that's what they're eventually trying to say, Nancy, but I haven't even talked to them to try to find out. I just wanted somebody to help me out.
So they just
put
you on the defense witness list without even talking to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, they did, Nancy, and that's where it gets dicey, because what will have to be determined by the judge is whether this was willful or whether it was inadvertent, whether they just recently found out about Vasco or whether they had knowledge prior
wait a minute.
To this day.
First of all, Matt Morgan, joining us in Orlando with Vasco Thompson, the so-called mystery witness the defense put on their witness list. Was Vasco Thompson to be the golden ticket, the gold ring you grab, and then you win the lottery?
Exactly.
They put his name on the defense list. It gets out there that he's a convicted felon for kidnapping, does 8 years with decades on probation after that, suggesting that his phone number pops up repeatedly on George Anthony's cell phone, either calling him or getting called by George in the days after Caylee's reported missing. Now that's big. That's big. The speculation around Vasco Thompson has been huge. Was he in some plot with George Anthony to hide the body, or even worse? So, Matt Morgan, how did it all unfold? How did people get in touch with your client? And what are people now saying your client had something to do with Caylee's death?
Essentially what they're going to, Nancy, is a few calls that went back and forth back in 2008, right around the time that Caylee went missing. And what they're trying to say is that these calls somehow made a connection between George Anthony and my client Vasco Thompson. And essentially, what we want you and the public and the press to be aware of is that Vasco did not have this number that he currently has back in 2008.
So are you telling me, Matt Morgan, that wasn't even his phone number at the time the calls were made back and forth to George Anthony?
That's exactly what I'm telling you, Nancy, and that's why this is incredibly appalling, and that's why Vasco is so taken off guard by this subpoena that he received the other day.
Here's the deal, Vasco Thompson. You might as well dig in, because look what's happening to Zenaida Gonzalez. All right,
exactly.
People think she's a killer. They think she kidnapped Keely, and they see her. They won't hire her. The whole shebang. So dig in. Unleash.
Nancy,
go ahead.
Yeah, Nancy, this whole thing began with Casey dragging Zanny, the nanny, Zenaida Gonzalez, into this, and our firm was able to clear her name, and now it's ending with Vasco. It's just another attempt by Casey Anthony to try to create some kind of reasonable doubt, and it's really upsetting for Vasco, obviously.
Yes.
Now, apparently, Jose Baez has stated that he made a motion, a formal motion to add Vasco Thompson to the witness list. Said he tried to contact him, that Thompson wouldn't talk to him when he found out who he was, and apparently Thompson was so concerned he calls the police. Now, listen, when you've got a convicted felon calling the police, that speaks volumes.